Here's an experiment. Type torture into Google, and what do you get? Beyond snippets of Hillary's speeches, you'll see Gina Haspel, the first woman to be nominated to run the CIA, a 33-year vet, more than qualified to run the place with deep knowledge of our worst enemies and how to handle them, which means she must be stopped.
On the other hand, there is controversy in her past. She was involved with the torture programs after September 11th and then involved with destroying videotapes of the matter also. That might be something that could be problematic.
I oppose her because she believes that waterboarding should be something that we use, and I think America shouldn't be known for torture.
Gina Haspel does not belong as head of the CIA. She belongs in front of a judge answering to what she was doing running a torture operation at a black site in Thailand.
I'm going to dig pretty deep for that one. All right, fact is, Gina made decisions that few people ever have to make. The world she operated in and the villains she faced, she didn't have the luxury of just talking about what to do. She had to do, because the call she answered demanded it. So, was it torture? It wasn't back then. And just because you don't like a tactic, that doesn't make it torture. Of course, she could have discussed the merit of such choices with pundits on TV rather than doing her job. She'd probably be paid more. But instead, she took the risk and responsibility so we didn't have to. She responded not just to the worst attack on our country since Pearl Harbor, but to a world-ending threat. Sure, it's easy to say, but we're better than that from a shiny newsroom. But if you think whatever she did was wrong, what is your alternative? Do you have anything beyond don't do that? Have you ever even thought this through all the way? So here's a question for Haspel's critics. Imagine being in a situation when your family's in danger and a terrorist is withholding key information that could save them. Would you still consider enhanced interrogation sadism? Would everything that's considered mean be off the table? Something tells me you'd rather leave that question up to people like Gina Haspel. So, Dana, you know this story probably better than anybody. They keep calling this torture. Do they have a reason to call this stuff torture? I don't. It's an opinion.
Well, it's their personal opinion. There has never been a legal opinion.
Right.
3 attorneys general have looked into this. All of them have declined to prosecute. The program was ended when it was no longer needed. And I think about her in terms of a three-decade career at the CIA, and all of a sudden, now she's not suitable to work at the CIA. She's been the deputy director of the CIA for the last year and a half. She has a great reputation amongst not just Republicans. She's been serving since 41's administration, but also with the Obama team.
Right.
And what I would ask people to think about is, have we forgotten what it was like on the morning after 9/11?
Yeah.
And what was happening? She was actually following orders, okay? She did follow orders that were based on a lawful program asked for by the President of the United States, and to the subject of that she destroyed evidence. There was no case that was ongoing when those tapes were destroyed. And that might seem to some people like a distinction without a difference, but let me just tell you, if you're in the CIA, do you have reason to believe that the congressional members of Congress who are going to use this for decades now, we're 17 years after the fact, and they still want to pick at this scab and not allow a woman who has an amazing record of public service to be able to serve? That really chaps my hide. If there are clear reasons that she should not be allowed to run this department that have nothing to do with her work, that has not been questioned. The program does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
That, to me, if there's a substantial reason, fine, let's have that discussion. But this one isn't it, and grandstanding is so despicable.
And it's going to happen. By the way, I think chapping your hide is worse than waterboarding, from what I understand.
Well, you could make that case.
Yes, you could.
Anything that I don't like honestly, sleep deprivation, pulling out fingernails, a lot of things. Yeah, you know what?
Playing Greg's loud music that he plays in the bump-in, that's torture.
They would definitely play that in a Thai prison.
They do. What they do, they play a lot of Metallica and Slayer. But to me, that's not torture. That's beautiful music.
So one of the hardest briefings I ever had to do at the White House was I woke up in the morning, got the New York Times, and there's a story that the CIA has destroyed interrogation tapes. And I thought, oh, my gosh. And I talked to everybody that day, the president, the vice president, Mike Hayden, the former CIA director, and Steve Hadley, the national security advisor. And I remember just having a private moment with Steve Hadley before I went to the briefing, and he said, Dana, I just want to explain something to you. In those days after 9/11, this country had to make some really tough decisions, and they were tough, but they were legal, and they saved lives. And I went out and I had the best briefing I'd ever had because I was confident.
I think it's going to be hard to argue against her, but they will argue against her. Kimberly, if she was a Democrat and it was under Hillary, they would say any opposition to her would be sexist. Should we say that? That it's because she's a woman. Do you think it's sexist?
No. I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, if you want us to say it, we'll say it.
Yeah.
Sexist.
Is that going to help?
This is an outrage.
Yes.
Yeah, but she's qualified. She deserves the... Okay, Juan, play
It just
along.
makes me nuts. That's
Okay, don't worry.
A lot of things make you nuts. Or it could have been
She's going to
just the way
float
you are.
away in Dana's pistachio canoe pretty soon.
Where is it?
Jeez,
Oh,
jeez.
save me, Lord.
Yeah, but she's right. Torture is anything. Sitting right here. Onions. What else? I don't like beets very much.
No,
right?
no.
That's about it.
But you love Super Beats.
Yeah, those are our advertisers, Kimberly. Let's just pay the bills.
Exactly. Let's take it easy there. All right, let me slow my roll. I think that she's unbelievably qualified, and whether male, female, etc., based on her record, a career of distinction, someone who's able to make tough decisions, who is widely admired by her peers, she deserves this position. They're going to be in a tough spot. It works the other way because she's a female, because then they will say, okay, why are you making these attacks against her? This could be considered sexist. She should get the job, and I do think they're going to pull a whole, bork on her because of some of the background and tactics. And you know what? Because they're going to like the fanfare.
Exactly, the
like
high drama.
Fodder for certain shows.
Well, plus, the more they talk
networks.
about this, the more President Trump is going to like her.
Yeah, exactly. And it will be, there'll be,
totally.
Jesse, there'll be Democrats galloping in on their moral high horses. There'll also be Rand Paul, who's now going to oppose Pompeo and Haspel. He's great.
Yeah, the moral high horse of the Democrats, I think it was the Obama intelligence agencies that spied on reporters, that lied to the American people in front of Congress, that did a lot of really disgusting things, and they didn't bat an eyelash then. So get off your high horse, get off your soapbox. This woman's a patriot. She was trying to save lives after 9/11. I remember George Bush on his last press conference said exactly what you said. You don't remember what it was like here after 9/11. They had to make a lot of tough decisions, and she made some tough decisions, and the head of her operation, Jose Rodriguez, says that enhanced interrogations save lives and foil plots. You know who also said it? Leon Panetta, the Obama intelligence chief, and he said that enhanced interrogation led to the location of Osama bin Laden. Speaking of Leon, also Brennan, Clapper, and Morell, all the top intelligence people under the Obama administration, all support this woman. So does Dianne Feinstein, which I find interesting. Stein, excuse me. And the whole thing about her destroying the tapes, so she was told to destroy tapes, and she did. Hillary destroyed tapes because she wanted to, and that was under an active investigation.
You have to admire what he just did there.
And the Justice Department let them both off the hook, so that's fine. Now,
Fair is fair.
This is a perfect example of media bias because this is a woman who's about to shatter the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
So she should be praised by the left-wing media. But instead, she's trying to be railroaded because she was nominated by a Republican. And the media, for years, has been saying that women should be celebrated because they're playing in the big boys leagues and they're tough, and we need tough women that can really, take the fight to people. Now we actually have a woman like that who made terrorists whine and whimper, and they're trying to attack her.
You know what scares me is I think that Democrat husbands are going to tell their wives not to support her.
Right.
And they won't because they're so subservient. All right, Juan, I'm going to give you the argument that I always hear, that our tactics, interrogation tactics, fuel the people who hate us. It's like we just make it worse because we're lowering ourselves to that level. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I don't think it's very American to torture people, and neither does John McCain, who was tortured.
Not torture.
So what you get, and it is torture. What's what we're talking about.
Waterboarding is not torture.
Well, I don't know. You can maybe in your your free time you want to go.
We've
get
waterboarded correspondents here.
I don't think that is rational or sane. Nobody in their right mind. So I mean, maybe it's a.
But then what's your alternative?
Where right-wing
What's your plan?
people. There are lots of alternatives. In fact,
Tell
if
me
you
one.
go and talk to the intelligence community, they will tell you they get more out of people when they don't torture them. But here's the thing. I think the key here is, will she renounce the use of torture in confirmation hearings?
But
I think that's what Dianne Feinstein had to say today, which is, look, she's got a great reputation in the intelligence community. They call her a pro's pro. But the law has changed. Torture is illegal. But in this administration, with President Trump, who, by the way, is always putting down the CIA, but says he thinks torture is effective. What about Mike Pompeo, who was the former CIA director? He, too, has said, yeah, I think torture might work. So the question becomes, wait a second, are we going backwards here, having had a moment of conscience about this, where we were torturing people even after the fact? It wasn't any, 24 scenario where, we got to get some information.
So we're just doing it for fun.
That has been now taken care of.
We have no conscience.
The president has the right to say, I need this information, take extraordinary or enhanced interrogation tactics. But these people that she was torturing, those people was after the fact.
Juan, you waterboard me without the water.
It is, but it's like sloppy use of the word torture.
How's it sloppy?
I'll tell you right now.
If it's waterboarding, if it's putting you in a box?
So, some of these guys are real losers and real wimps, okay? They're crybabies. You put a caterpillar on their shoulder, and they cry for their mom, and no more jihad, and they spill it. So that, to me, is not torture. It really isn't.
Well,
so
I'm just telling you.
It's in the eye of the beholder, Juan. That's the problem.
Or loud music, or there's some sleep deprivation. There's been changes in law. She will follow the law as it currently stands on the books.
Right.
That's why I said the key point.
Now.
She can't change the law.
Is, will she renounce the use of torture?
Well, that leads me to the question, Dana, would you break the law if you say could save lives and ruin your career, or would you follow the law and watch people die? That's an interesting question.
You don't need to do that.
Well,
the president
break
can
the law.
Yeah, of course you
Protect
would.
people, but she didn't. I mean, that's a bad hypothetical.
Oh, is it?
That's because you're saying that leads me to her saying she didn't break any law.
No, I was just saying in the
Dana
future.
just disqualified herself because of you.
No, I was doing a 24 plot.
But you know the other thing that I mean, obviously, this is not it's not an easy topic. The things that these agents are asked to do are not easy. You think they want to do this?
No.
They signed up to serve their country in order to protect us. But the notion that somehow Gitmo or these black sites somehow fueled more anger against Western civilization is preposterous.
And that is a great point, because after these enhanced interrogations were no longer used, the rise of ISIS sprung up right after.
It's an ideology.
So what does they have to do with each other? Well, the other thing is,
answer that question. What does it have to do with anything?
Okay, exactly.
I think it's cause and effect.
You said when we were interrogating people in a rough way, that was making them hate us even more and leading to more attacks.
You
just said it.
No,
Dana,
what I'm saying is that they hate us no matter what. It's an ideology that we're fighting. Anyway, I think that she'll end up with 75 votes in favor.
Good. All right.